Hey, crypto heads. It's the Goose with the Cryptic Paranormal Show. Welcome. Kind of a small house in here tonight compared to usual. Heisenberg is out. He's got a lot of work going on. He's pretty overwhelmed, so he won't be able to make it on tonight. And I'll, Denise is also running a little bit late, but she'll hop on here as soon as she can. But the dude over there, look at that dude. Vince KELIEN. What's up, brother?
How's
Thank
it
you so
going?
much for having us on. First of all, thank you for rescheduling. That was a
I,
big help.
I,
I
I
totally
think you had that
apologize about that.
backwards.
What's that?
So I think you had that backwards. You said thanks for having us on.
Oh,
No,
see?
thank you for
This
having
is
me on.
no, yeah. Thank you for coming on and thank you for rescheduling after
Of
last week's
course.
debacle. But um been wanting to have you on anyway since I've met you.
Appreciate that.
The first we see each other all the time at the cons and everything, but it's like
Hmm.
very you don't really get to know people. And it's kind of cool to have everybody on the show that you kind of get to know a little bit and get to know them a little bit deeper.
Yes.
But
How many cons have we done now?
dude, I mean, probably
I've
6 or
lost.
7 at
Yeah,
least, yeah.
it's been a lot.
And, like, we could see each other right across the way, we stare at each other, wink at each other, kinda, stare lovingly into each other's eyes. No, I'm just kidding.
Dad, Dad, that you? You came back with the milk?
But, yeah, I'm glad to have you on. So, like, the first we don't really have, like, a lot of scripted questions on the show, we just kinda go with the flow, and
Mhm.
it's just makes it fun. But we do like to, like, know the person we're talking to, so does the
Sure.
audience. So we always like and I always, like, word it like a comic book. We love to know your origin story.
Sure.
So, where did all this crazy stuff come from? What got you into this?
Um, so back in 2009, I saw a ad right when Facebook was allowing everyone to join and not just college students. Um, and saw an ad for a haunt actor at Waverly Hills Sanatorium.
Okay.
And I had already been fascinated with the building. It's spooky and I didn't really believe in ghosts at the time. It was just kind of like my aura, anyone who is like a metalhead has that weird dark
Yes.
persona, I guess. And
Yes.
so if you're listening to Corn, chances are you're probably watching Nightmare Before Christmas or
Oh,
Edward
yeah.
Scissorhands or whatever the case.
I get it.
Um, so it just kind of stemmed off that. And right before they were going to have that, I want to say it was midwinter, probably February of 2009. A friend of mine was doing a short film at Waverly. Part of it was filmed at Waverly, whatever. It was a little independent film called Revenant before Leonardo DiCaprio.
Gotcha.
So she called me and she was like, "Hey, I'm trying to get into film school, and this is gonna help my portfolio. I'd love to have you out as an extra." I was like, "Cool." So we went out. We filmed this thing. They had a hard time tracking me down to film because I was all over the building. They had a really hard time. Like they would call me, and either I wouldn't get it or I would ignore it. Um, but so my love kind of stemmed from that. Then I saw the ad, and I was like, "This could be my way in
Right.
permanently." So the second I got there, I talked to a couple other people that had either worked there before or was currently there at the moment, and they was like, "Look for the redheaded woman when you get there." And I was like, "Okay." Something about location owners and being a redhead. I don't know what that's about.
Yeah.
Um, if you don't understand what I'm talking about, Trains Allegheny used to have an owner that was also redheaded.
Yeah.
But what's up, Kyle? Kyle. Um, I had saw this ad, and when I got there, I found the redhead. Her name's Tina. For anyone who doesn't know, and I told her I was like, I live 5 minutes down the road. I have a construction background. I've loved this place since last year. I even knew the history before, but being coming back to, do, like haunted house stuff,
Yeah.
I could be here year round. And she was like, "You could live 5 minutes away." Yeah. So it kind of stemmed from that. Still not believing in the paranormal. I came in my very first day on a very, very hot summer day in the middle of August.
Oof,
Uh,
that's rough.
Shirts off, been working all day building mazes for the first floor on the haunted house. Tired. It's like 5 o'clock. I'm like, all right, I'm done for the day. So I get all my tools, pack it up in a bag, go down to the glass staircase as we call it, lock up, do everything I need to do, and I get out to the parking lot. And I popped the trunk and I heard what sounded like a dodgeball hitting concrete. We know the sound. You've been to high school. You've played
Yeah,
basketball. Um,
unfortunately.
you poor guy. I got picked on in high school too, just in a weirder way. Um,
Oh, jeez.
we can get to that if you want to too.
Why not, man? We'll get there.
But so I just kind of I turned around. I was like, "What is that noise?" And I look up at the building, and a red dodgeball comes bouncing out of the fourth floor solarium.
Oh, shit. Wow.
It hit the parking lot, obviously, and then it bounced into the neighborhood. If anyone, or obviously, Goose, you've either seen it. People know what the
Yeah.
layout is of Waverly. You've seen
Mhm.
drone shots, aerial, whatever.
Yeah.
You know that the back side of the building has this big parking lot, and right on the other side of it, there's a subdivision.
Yeah.
The ball bounced down to the subdivision. I left my trunk wide open, left my shit on the ground, and took off and went down the hill. Tina and Charlie were out grabbing food at the time. Nobody else was on the property at the moment.
Uh-huh.
I think security was making rounds over by the tower. Um, and I get down to the gate. I open the gate. I actually hit the hood of my car with the gate, getting it
Oh,
open.
shit.
Um, I hear the ball again. And I turn around, and the ball is coming down the driveway. So that means that this
Wow.
ball has bounced back up from the neighborhood miraculously, made a turn, and came back down the hill. I left the gate wide open and took off. Trunk's still open.
Oh, shit.
And this was if you know anything about older cars, I was driving
Mhm.
I want to say it was a 95 Cougar at the
Oh,
time.
okay. Yeah.
They don't go down when you drive, they stay up.
Right. Yeah.
Um, I call Tina and I'm like, "Hey, something happened. I don't know what it was. I can't explain it. I'll be back in the morning. Please have Joe put my tools in the security office." And she said,
Oh,
"Okay." So the next morning, she tells me that she believes that I was initiated.
Oh, interesting.
So, it's been that way ever since. So on and off since 2010, I've worked at Waverly. I don't work there currently.
Mm.
But it's just been home. It's always been home. It'll always be home. I've always had to say that if we have any kind of choice in life after death, that I would choose Waverly to be my home.
Really?
If we have any kind of say so in it.
Yeah.
Um, we don't know how it really works, obviously.
Right. Right.
Anyone who tells you they're a professional paranormal investigator, you don't go to school for this shit. Um,
Well, yeah, right.
you know, there's college courses that you can take that involve the paranormal, but it doesn't make you a
Yeah.
professional or know what's going
No,
on.
and it's usually more like just a club, like an elective. And there are
Yeah,
paranormal clubs too. There's a big one right in Cleveland at one of
sure.
those colleges. So,
Well, it's because Cleveland's fucking haunted, like all of Ohio.
yeah, man.
That's why Logan Paul and all the Paul brothers and all these crazy people come. No offense, come from Ohio.
Yeah. Yeah, Matt
Um,
Rife. I mean, all those guys.
yeah, Matt, who Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah. Actually delivered oxygen to a patient that was like lived right across from his childhood home in Bath.
Oh
Because
shit.
yeah, it's only about 20 minutes away from me. And I pulled up. I'm like, I know he lived on this road because I had been there before. Like I had toured his house,
Oh,
and
that's a thing?
uh, back when the old owner owned it. Now since he
Oh.
sold it, they've redone it. You can't. They have like a gate. You can't even like
They've
get
Amityville
up
the
there.
house.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it was weird, man. We had lunch with the guy, and just he was like telling us stories, like, and like he Dahmer didn't really. I mean, that I think that was one of his first kills, but he didn't
Yeah.
like that wasn't the house,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, it was just weird. Anyways, yeah, Ohio, dude.
Ohio.
I
Between all the
love being in
haunted
Ohio.
spots, all the abandoned spots, there's just so much in Ohio. And people hate Ohio for whatever reason.
Right?
I think it's just the paranormal and the urbexer people that like Ohio. I don't think anybody else cares.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't know if it's because it's part of the Rust Belt and there's so many just warehouses and
Yeah.
no, it's from the urbex. 'Cause I'm not an urbex guy, so I don't know like what
Right.
attracts you to certain
Um,
buildings or what certain areas.
well, see, there's something weird to be said about that is that, excuse me. If anyone who's watching or whatever, if you have if you've seen urbexing videos online, you'll see warehouses and you'll see malls
Mhm.
and you'll see
Yeah.
schools and stuff like that. It's not really my interest. Some schools are. It depends. It depends. So if a school was, let's say it has history dating back to 1850. For me, it's history. For me, it's the
Right.
architecture.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah, for sure.
it's the same thing that happens when you pull up to a place like Waverly or Penhurst or Trans
Yeah.
Allegheny, and you when you pull up to these buildings, you forget about ghost hunting, and you're just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
whoa.
Oh, yeah, instantly, dude.
It's just
I
like
get it.
mind blowing, right? So I mean, that's kind of how the urbex thing started for me. Part of it was money,
Yeah.
like anybody else. When I first started putting out content, I've slowed down on long form content because
Mhm.
there's a big announcement coming at the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash that I can't talk about.
Ooh.
Um, but I've slowed down on long form for like the last 6, 7. It might be 8 months now. So now it's
Yeah.
just short form like Facebook Reels and Instagram, TikTok and stuff. But
Yeah.
um,
It's all about reels and TikTok now, and
yeah,
it's nice for guys like me who have like a very short attention span. But
and here's the problem with that is now like TikTok's allowing like 30-minute.
yeah, yeah, I saw that.
Um, but yeah, some of the stuff is just it's like if anyone didn't know, there's a lot of buildings that were made by Thomas Kirkbride and
Mhm,
Dorothea Dix and stuff like that, and people think it's just prisons and asylums and sanatoriums. It's not.
mhm,
They also constructed schools. They constructed some government buildings and stuff like that. Also, it wasn't just what we go ghost hunting for.
yeah,
Um, so a lot of those buildings like schools and stuff like that are of interest too. But my main interest is asylums. It's hospitals. It's um, sanatoriums and stuff like that. Sanitariums,
yeah,
whatever your preference. But um, the architecture in general, and I think a lot of it is the preservation and restoration for me as
mhm,
well. Um, my goal with content is for those owners. If it's an urbex video and you're
mhm,
seeing and you're hearing some kind of history over it, whatever the case of mine, I want that owner to see that video.
right, sure,
If they're not using it for a tourist attraction, if they're not using it for apartments, if they're not operating the if they're not operating the location, I want them to see it.
yeah,
And the reason why is because I want them to see, hey, there's interest. There's interest
oh
in
yeah,
your location, whether
yeah,
it's owned by the state government, private owner, or whatever. I want them to
right,
see it because you're you're wasting money
mhm,
when you could be earning a whole bunch, whether it's for profit or for nonprofit, whatever the case.
Yeah.
Um, all you got to do is go in there and clean up, maybe make
Right.
some
Yeah.
repairs. You don't even have to put electricity in the building if you're just going to give like day tours or whatever.
Right. Right.
We will come out.
Oh yeah, we will.
We
Yeah, we
will
will.
come out.
Yeah.
Um, even if it's not like the demographic of people that you want to come out, people will pay
Mhm.
you to come and see this location.
Yeah.
Now some of these places I've been to, there's no fixing.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
oh God, I'm out of here. Bye. No, I'm just kidding. Where'd she
What I mean,
go?
I don't know. It's the same thing that happened to you.
Oh yeah, I guess it is. Um, but yeah, that's just kind of sorry. Have I ever investigated churches?
Yeah.
There's been one or two that have had some like questionable things, like deaths and stuff that we're
Mhm.
kind of like you're not really sure about.
Yeah.
There's a place I'm not sure what town it is, but it's not far from Stone Mansion, I think.
Okay.
Um, Center Church. It's somewhere in
That
Indiana.
sounds familiar. Yeah.
Um, been out there, didn't have a whole lot of activity. We were kind of wondering if maybe it was the cemetery that was giving off any kind of evidence.
Yeah.
Because the cemetery
Maybe.
is right in their backyard, basically.
Sure.
But other than that, I think that's pretty much it. Plenty of places that have chapels, but
Yeah. Yeah.
not too many churches. Um, honestly, I would rather steer away from that. The whole church thing.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with religion or anything like that. I'm not a big religious believer to begin with.
Hmm.
And if we do have a higher power, lower power, whatever the case, I don't want to offend them.
Oh yeah, makes sense. Right.
Hi, Holly.
Yeah, because there's
Uh,
still, whether you believe what that building believed in,
yeah,
there still has to be an amount of respect,
yeah,
and
and
it's just especially with that.
and part of that also is we go to prison, we go to these prisons and stuff, and all bets for me used to be off. Like my dad's
Yeah.
been in and out of prison my entire life.
Okay.
And for the longest time, I didn't go into prisons with any
Hmm.
respect. And it took me quite a while to realize that, hey, some of the people that died here weren't prisoners. Some of them could
Right.
have been guards.
Right.
Somebody could have been the warden, or somebody could have been
Yep.
somebody's mom went in there to visit somebody, and a prison inmate, shanked her and killed her or something. So
Right.
it took me a lot of time to gain any kind of respect, because you ended up in prison for a reason.
Right.
Now there's the off chance, like the Memphis Three, right? That,
Yeah.
there's the off chance, that these people were innocent also.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you don't know. And but I used to have such a really hard standing on that, only because, my dad's been to prison in and out of my life my whole life.
Yeah. Yeah. That
And
makes
I
sense.
and I resented him for the longest time. Um he's out of prison now. He's doing good as far as I can tell. Dude's a
Good.
hustler, so he's doing really well now, but
Good.
legally, not, you know. Um
I get you.
Best investigation, I was on Prospect Place in Ohio. Never been.
Loretta, that's an amazing place. I agree with you. It's a good spot.
Is it big?
It's like an old mansion. And it's I could say now it's even better
Mhm.
because the previous owner was like he was like blood relatives of the people that owned or built the house. And
Oh,
it's
that's rare.
very, yeah, it's very, has a lot of history with like the Underground Railroad. It was a big part of that. The family themselves were huge. They helped so many uh get to freedom. But anyways, the dude, George Adams, who was the owner, and like I said, he was the relatives of the people that actually built the home.
Mhm.
He was a bit of a hoarder, and half of the house was his space, and you weren't
Right.
allowed in his space. But his space kind of bled into the rest of the house. I mean, there were rooms with just shit all over them.
Gotcha.
Um, so when he was actually he started a foundation for the house, and he had a council, and the council actually, we think it's better if you leave. He was having health issues anyways, and the
Yeah.
house wasn't really set up for somebody with health issues. I mean, there was
Right.
still a lot of things that barely worked. I mean, there was hardly any heat. I mean, the part that you investigated, there was no heat. But now they've come in, they've cleaned it out, they've renovated it.
Mm.
They have certain rooms set up, and they're really like deep into like making sure people know the history.
Hmm.
You go in there, and but they still do, you know, like flashlight tours. They do public hunts,
Oh, so they
private hunts.
believe, so they
Oh yeah.
100% believe it's haunted.
Oh yeah, yeah. You
Gotcha.
can't work there and not. I mean, there's the most active time I was there is actually another time I was having lunch with one of the volunteers there.
Okay.
Um, we're just sitting there. I swear to God, dude, it sounded like somebody walked in the house and they were just talking,
Oh,
having a
wow.
conversation. We're like, what the hell? What's going on? He's like, dude, just it happens all the time. And some of the EVPs, he had two folders like this thick of notes he would take, and like he had like probably 10 EVP recorders, would not delete anything, but he had everything written down so he knew what recorder and like what file and what
Oh,
time it
wow.
was.
Yeah, oh,
And
well,
he
you
was just
said
like,
this is
he
the
was,
guy George?
no, no, this was one of his helpers when he was living there.
Oh,
Unfortunately, he also got ousted, but
I was gonna
just
say
he was just had some
that's
amazing EVPs.
I
So the
was gonna say
place,
that sounds like a hoarder. Right?
yeah,
Just writing
yeah,
everything down and
yeah,
keeping it
yeah.
stacked.
No, that was actually the only thing he had of his there. But you know, he was kind of like the ghost guy for the place. He ran the most of the paranormal stuff at the time.
Gotcha.
But I mean, yeah, they believe they still do ghost hunting. I think the guy who runs the council is a ghost hunter himself too, so that's
Oh,
you know a good deal.
that's cool.
Um, but yeah, there's so much history there, dude. If you ever get a chance, I would definitely check it out.
Absolutely. Add it to the list.
Dude, the ever
There's
growing
so
Ohio
many.
list.
Oh my god. Ugh. I think I think that if you are a ghost hunter in the East Coast, you can just kind of consider yourself an Ohioan.
Dude, it's nice living in Ohio. I don't have to travel more than 3 hours in any direction, and I can find an amazing place I can investigate.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
beautiful.
the places from me, they're the places that we all go to. They're not. Most of them aren't far from me. I think the farthest one is probably Madison, and that's only 5 hours.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not a big deal.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's just kind of with my content and everything. Yeah, I'll do some funny stuff here and there, and I'll make the goofy
Yeah.
music videos and all that.
Yeah. Gotta
Um,
have fun.
but it holds true to my heart and my passion for these places to get restored.
Sure.
Um, so much so I can tell you a story if you want to hear
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
So I was upstate New York visiting my daughter,
Okay.
and while I was there for 2.5 weeks, so I was, had plenty of time to hang out with my daughter and go check out some places. And one
Yeah.
that stuck out like a sore thumb was this absolutely gorgeous building called the Hudson River State Hospital.
Okay.
And literally on the Hudson, right across the street from Marist College. Um, this place, I think it's what's up, Jason? This place is, if I'm not mistaken, it was some point like 34 acres or something, which in New York is rare to have.
Right. Oh yeah, for
Um,
sure.
to have that amount of property. And I want to say it was like 350,000 square feet.
Oh wow.
Um, but this place had seen like blatant arson. It had been struck by lightning several times.
Oh geez.
Um, uh, just everything wrong that possibly could happen would go wrong. And what's weird about that is it's on a hill, just like all these other places we go to. It's
Yeah.
on a hill. So how are all these other places not getting hit by lightning? Is what is mind blowing.
Yeah, it's like it's
Um,
cursed or something. That's crazy.
yeah, and this play upon going to this place, they don't give tours or anything. It is so diluted. It's so dilapidated. Um, from on the so they had two separate wings that ran off the Kirkbride,
Okay.
and one wing to the south was the men's ward, and then to the north was the female ward. And for the longest time, there was no females. It was just a male ward, and that's all they dealt
Okay.
with. This this hospital never stopped construction. It was
Wow.
always in construction. If anyone's ever seen the Winchester movie,
Yeah.
anyone who knows the history of the Winchester Mansion, same thing. Different nurses, aides, and stuff would say they would walk through there and count the doors of how many rooms there were and would never get the same answer twice.
Right.
That's how big this
Crazy.
place was. What's up, Paul? How you doing,
Paul, what
buddy?
up, buddy?
What's up?
And by the way, Jason and Amber, hey, what's happening? Love
I'm
you guys.
guessing I'm guessing that Denise is just like, well, he was being serious. And Denise, if you're watching, I wasn't being serious. She just didn't come back. Um, but
Yeah, what happened?
yeah, I have no idea. Hello, Bale.
Valerie.
Um, but upon entering this place, we didn't really know like the ins and outs of it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna out Drew. Drew and his mom Sonia went with me. So if for anyone who knows Haunted Raven, um, so we didn't really know like which way to go, and we were avoiding cops and security and all this other kind of stuff, just trying to get to the building. And we get on the property and we find an entry. Turns out a little bit later we found an easier one, but whatever. Um, so we're going through this building. We're walking down this hallway, and you get to a certain point, and everything is just gone.
oh, wow.
There's no roof.
Huh.
The structure is there, but everything
Yeah.
else is just gone. Everything's
Wow.
dropped from the ceiling, and everything from the ceiling has dropped into the basement. There's
Oh
nothing
shit.
there.
Wow.
That's just like one side of the Mel wing,
Yeah.
and we find another entry point to go down a hallway that is not so dilapidated. Um, excuse me, and this leads into the female wing. I had, you know, we talk about getting scratched. People talk about getting scratched, and people talk
Sure.
about getting touched, and and all this other kind of stuff. And extremely dangerous. This place is not for the weak. Um, Drew and Sonia and myself all split. They're together, and I'm by myself, and we're just exploring as much as we can,
Yeah.
before we, get out of there. And we get to a certain point, and I'm in the tunnels underground at one point in time, and I feel a small hand, and it was familiar. It was a familiar touch. It was like my daughter was holding my hand,
Oh, where?
and it
Wow.
was for it. I didn't count, but it felt like forever. It was like
Yeah.
5 to 10 seconds.
Hmm.
And I felt it wrap. I felt whoever it was wrap their hand around my hand, and I just kind of clenched back. Normally, people would be scared, but it felt. I'm I'm a elder emo, so like I'm always emotional, wear my heart on my
Right.
sleeve type shit.
Yeah.
I don't get scared. I just go with it 99.9% of the time, and it
Sure.
felt so sad. And then I started hearing voices. Now I was trying to chalk it up to maybe Drew and Sonia or a security guard or another
Sure.
explorer, whatever the case. Hey Tina, we're talking about Hudson River State Hospital. Um, So I just kind of clench back, and then I hear all these voices happening all at once, and but it wasn't anything what I just said. It was like it felt like someone was asking for help.
Yeah.
It was really sad feeling, really sad place. Um, Shadow figures left and right. Saw a full bodied apparition. We know how rare that is.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um,
That's awesome.
this play, and I don't urbex to ghost hunt. It's
Right.
just it's kind of out of my that's out of my realm. I know it's great for if you ain't got no money to pay for a
Right.
location, it's a
Oh yeah,
wonderful
yeah.
tool if you can, but um, I don't need to bring any more attention to myself by running a spirit box or
Right, right.
asking questions because I'm trying to be quiet.
Mhm.
Um, and this place was just it was just sad. Yeah, I it's so hard to explain, but it was like your grandma died, or
Oh,
maybe you were a parent and your kid passed away at the hospital overnight
yeah.
while you were asleep, kind of thing. It was just an
Mhm.
awful feeling. Um, the next day, or sorry, I forgot. My my memorabilia from these places, if they were old enough to have them, and if they did have
Yeah.
them, are key plates. So the covers that go over key plate holes.
Yeah.
Those are the mementos from the abandoned structures that I will take if I know that the building is going away.
Right.
Um, and I didn't bring my screwdriver to grab one.
Oh, jeez.
So when we were done exploring, I went back to my car, pulled it back to where Drew's car was, and we went back up. We had met some other explorers on the way out. Um, when we got back on the property, we could hear them on the other side of the property,
Mhm.
yelling and screaming and carrying on, acting a fool. And we was just like, okay, so they're not here for the right reasons, kind of thing.
Right.
There's three different things that happened during this. They got closer and closer and closer, and before we knew it, we heard somebody. Are we offended by cursing here at all?
No, fuck no.
Okay.
No.
um, I hear Drew and I both hear a voice that says, "Do you want to fucking die?" As loud as possible. We turn around and
Oh.
there's a security guard there. And we're like, no, not particularly. Are you going to shoot us? He was like, enough
Wow.
people have died on this property, which was obviously a scare tactic,
Right, right.
whatever. Obviously, the building's dangerous. We know that.
Right.
Um, and we was like, no, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, we're out of here. There's
Yeah.
no reason to call anybody. We're not destructive. We're not vandals or anything like that.
Right, right.
Um, and he was like, okay, I'll call them off. You didn't call the police, but that's fine. So we get off the property and we're getting close to our cars when we hear someone yelling at us again, and it's those two explorers.
Yeah.
So they came off the property, I guess, right after we did,
Yeah.
and one of them had my keys.
Oh
My
shit.
key. So we were on the outside when the guy was yelling at us.
Yeah.
A sticker thorn bush had pulled my keys out of my pocket.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Dude.
And I had no idea. But he said that they were above. Basically, they led him to us and didn't realize it. They
Oh,
were
okay.
up on top of a scaffolding
Yeah.
um, that was overlooking us, and he just caught us.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah. So fun urbexing.
Yeah,
So
I'd be too nervous to get caught the whole time. I mean, I would love
it's
to.
it's pretty it's pretty nerve wracking if you don't know the
Yeah.
location. There's plenty of places I've been back to that I just
Yeah.
know are fine.
Right.
Um, for anyone who wants to try urbexing, I suggest anywhere in Gary, Indiana. The cops there do not care. They waved at us as we were walking into a hospital that's connected to their police station.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah. So Gary, Indiana, just be respectful. I don't really encourage urbexing, but if you're gonna try it,
Right.
be respectful
Right.
and don't tear shit up. The next day we get out. I go back up there to run drone shots. Like I'm just gonna sit in the shopping center and just run drone shots. I get a little bit ballsier and realize that the gate's open. So I pull up. There's a truck there. I pull up next to him and I'm like, "Hey,
Mm,
um, blah blah blah. This and that." Just gave him some bullshit story, and I was just like, who do I need to talk to about checking this place out? And the guy was like,
yeah,
"Oh, well, if you go over here, the whole area is under construction." So he was like, "Oh, the foreman for the hospital and for all this here is
yeah,
in this building right next to Duncan." And I was like, "Okay, cool." I go in there and I out myself, and I'm like, "Hey, I was in your building yesterday,"
yeah.
and he was like, "Okay, what do you want?" And I was like, "Your guy caught us like not on purpose, like by accident. Somebody somebody was being loud and got your security guard over to us."
Yeah,
I was like, "But there is a couple things in there. I know you're demoing these buildings. There's a couple things in there, blah blah blah, this and that." Um, and he goes, "Tell me where they are. Tell me what you want them for, and then
uh,
we'll talk." And so I told him what I wanted them for, where they were, and everything else. He goes,
yeah,
"Yeah, I left my number," and he goes, "I'll call you." I was like, "Okay, cool." So probably about 2 weeks later, he called me. He was like, "Your stuff's ready. I know you said you may not be back for about a year, 6 months to a year, or whatever, but they're
yeah.
here in my office whenever you're ready." Um,
That's awesome.
but yeah, I that's how much I care about preservation and restoration is that I
Yeah,
will out myself to make things new again because
yeah,
pretty much everything that I get, whether it's key plates or it's a wheelchair or whatever the
yeah,
case, I'll fix up. Some items I'll donate,
yeah.
like back to like a historical society or something that maybe oversees the property or whatever. But
Oh, cool. Yeah.
just depending on what the item is, supposed to go pick up a window that still has glass in it, which is crazy.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah, that's nice.
a toddler's wheelchair
Ooh,
and a couple other things. So
yeah.
it'd be fun.
Now, from a paranormal investigator standpoint, any of that shit you bring home is it ever cause like have any attachment to it or cause any issues?
My son tells me all the time that he hears things and he hears footsteps and all this other kind of
Oh,
stuff. But William is also on the spectrum of Sam and Colby and um,
yeah, I gotcha.
the younger generation. It's not a knock on any of those guys.
Oh, yeah, right, right.
I fucking love Sam and Colby. I've watched
Mm,
multiple episodes. I've met them in real life. They came to film at
yeah.
Waverly. I was their guide for the night.
Oh, cool.
Um, but um, but he's William's very like, what was that?
Yeah.
Um, so I kind of take that with a grain of salt. Now, Val's obviously been to the house.
Mhm.
Um, she at one point in time thought she saw my brother when my brother wasn't there walking through the kitchen
Oh, crazy.
with one of my hoodies on. Um, before Skylar moved to New York with her mom, um, I've caught my daughter in the corner talking.
Weird. Yeah.
Lauren.
There's that beautiful woman. Hey, pumpkin.
um, it's that pumpkin. And there's been a couple other people have been in the house. It was just like, oh, blah 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 blah. This, that, yada yada yada. If you've ever seen my living room, there's a coffin in it and there's a wheelchair in it. Um,
Nice.
I have an array of different things from different locations. This one here is from Hudson River State Hospital. It's on my neck.
Oh, wow.
Um, but most of my things that I do own as far as like from haunted places I think is Waverly for the most part, just because it's so it's home.
Sure,
Um,
sure.
I mean, you're looking at one currently, that right there, the door number.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, I've got, there's all kinds of different stuff here, but
Yeah.
I myself, I've heard footsteps, but it's an apartment.
Oh, gotcha.
It's a condo that was turned into an apartment, and they're
Yeah,
pushed together with other apartments.
sure.
Um, so I don't get up to debunk anything, and I also don't go, "What was that?" Um, I you
Same.
know if there are if I do have spirits from haunted locations that are attached to items that came from said location, we all just leave each other alone.
Right.
So,
That's cool.
what
I'm
about
not
you?
allowed to
Do you have stuff at your house?
I'm not allowed to bring stuff home. My wife strictly says no.
She
That
said it's
doesn't happen.
foreboding.
It's foreboding. Yes, exactly. And that's fine. I there's been a couple times I wanted to bring stuff home that people offered me,
Mhm.
and I'm like, she'll know. I'll just bring it in, but
Right.
she'll know. They know. They always know.
I have an idea
So,
for you.
oh yeah,
And
what's this?
I know people are weird about this, but I have this idea. I've stopped collecting them just because there's too many. Um, and I would have to collect probably about a pallet full of them to do it. But
Uh,
I was collecting bricks for a while from locations.
okay, yeah,
And the idea, I've got a buddy who does clay stamping on red brick.
gotcha.
And the idea was to do the clay stamp of each location. So if it came from Penhurst, he'll stamp Penhurst on the
Oh,
side of it.
sweet. Yeah,
Waverly, same thing, whatever, wherever the bricks came from.
yeah.
And there's too many locations, and I always forget. Um, and I just, I forgot about it, honestly, if I'm being real about it. Um, you live in Louisville. My brother lives in Prospect. I want to take one of my nephews to Waverly. I've never been there before. Tina, you should go. It's a whole lot of fun. I live in Middletown. Um, Tina, we'll get dinner or something, and bring your brother, and we'll talk. Um, but the idea was to collect enough to build a fire pit
Gotcha. That's a cool idea.
and just
Yeah.
make the bricks outward to where it shows the stamp. But
Right.
I don't see it ever. I don't ever see getting enough
Right.
to do it with.
Yeah.
Um, every single one of these locations has a loose brick somewhere, but I'm
Oh
just
yeah, for
not.
sure.
You
Yeah, our
know.
buddy Jeff Fent,
Oh,
him and
Jeffrey.
our Columbus team, he used to be with our Dark Alley Columbus team, back before he went rogue and became amazing, even more amazing than he already was. But there was this place called the Emmett Inn down in was it Circleville? I think it was, or Chillicothe, Ohio. Anyways, it's down like towards the Columbus area,
Hmm.
central Ohio. Um Amazing building. This place was so crazy. I mean, they were helping the owners clean up, and they were finding just like old dresses and boots and stuff in the walls and really cool stuff. But unfortunately the building like burnt down. Like when I say burnt down, it burnt down.
Jesus.
On a side note, kind of cool though, while it was on fire, somebody took a picture of the place, and you could actually see like um I just gonna say it, ghosts
Hmm.
walking. Like you saw like one up in the window kind of staring out as this place was on fire.
Jesus.
And then one was like walking across the street, but it was right by the building. It
Huh.
wasn't a fireman, because there was no fireman in that area at the
Right.
time. It's just a person in a suit walking down the street. It's like, holy crap. But
Jesus.
anyways, they had a bunch of like he collected a bunch of bricks after they had done the major demolishment, and there's still stuff there.
Sure.
And he was giving them away to people, and they were having to bring them back. They were trying to find. They would take them home, and shit would start happening in their house. Like their appliances would start breaking down, and they'd start having like activity or whatever, and they end up bringing them back. Like, Jeff, you got to take these back. So,
Gosh,
yeah.
I
Well,
don't
I
know
mean,
if I,
I do have one thing. My spirit box that Jeff found. Now that I'm talking about it, part of it,
where's the
there's
wood
parts of
from?
it,
Where's the wood from?
Madison Seminary.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, so I mean, there's a connection there. I've been going to Madison since
sure.
the beginning of time. But yeah, I guess I do have one thing. Don't tell my wife, Lauren. Shh, quiet. Leave it on the
Wifey,
calendar.
wifey.
But I mean, so far, no, it works. I love that box, but it hasn't brought anything home with it. So
Yeah, there's really not a whole lot of wood that is detached at Waverly that I think I could get enough for Jeff to build one.
yeah, yeah.
But I am gonna try eventually. I gotta
Jeff's funny,
talk to
man. He
Tina
goes
and
he
stuff, but
yeah. Jeff is funny. He goes down into the bellies of these places and crawl
Mhm.
spaces, and he just finds the wood.
Yeah,
Like there's just planks of wood for him to harvest. It's just like
yeah,
he's got like a beacon for it. He could just find it or like a radar. It's hilarious, but he does some amazing work with that stuff.
yeah. What are you up to this weekend, Mister Goose?
Oh my gosh, I have so much to catch up. I was on call for work last weekend and I was super busy, so it's gonna
Gross.
be a getting shit done weekend. But
I
I
hear
know
you.
you got a ton going on. And that's actually about that time where Heisenberg, if he was on, would usually ask you if there's anything coming up that you would like to plug.
Denise, where are you?
I don't know. She's just disappeared off the face of the earth.
I guess she has. I hope she didn't think that I was like, oh God, like I was being serious.
No, because she was like,
Um,
she wasn't even. I'd like put her on, and she's like, I don't think she would had enough time.
okay. Um,
I'll talk to her later. It's fine.
but oh, for stuff to plug.
Yeah.
So if you're going to the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash, there is a big announcement. She ghosted you. Yeah. Um, there's a
Nice.
big announcement coming at the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash. If any of you are going, um, there are several other conventions coming up. Um, we have ISS coming up, ISS Con,
Yep.
Adam Kimmel's people. Oh God, Gettysburg Battlefield Bash. There's Madison or MagCon in Madison,
Madcon, baby.
Ohio.
Yep.
Um, and if me or Goose don't intrigue you enough, Project Fear will be there.
Yeah. I mean, if
Um,
you want to see them, I mean, my
um,
show's been on longer. Never mind. I won't say it.
um,
I can't say that's mean.
that's funny. But uh, the biggest announcement I want to tell you about, I can't.
I see. I have the knack for doing this. I always have people on before their
Yeah,
big announcements, and for this one, I had no clue there was a big
yeah.
announcement coming, but
Uh,
that's everybody,
Gettysburg Battlefield Bash.
and that's in July,
Mm-hmm.
coming up like in the next couple weekends.
Yep, it's at the end of July. I think it's the
I'm
26th to the 28th.
okay.
Um,
So if people want to know where to find your announcement after it's been announced,
it'll
where do
be
they follow you?
all over my socials. You can go to the urbaninvestigator.com to check out any of those announcements. Um, August 2nd, we are having it's a collaborative event between Urban Investigations and oh boy, Tina, you should come out. It'd be fun. We have a collaborative investigation between Urban Investigations and Ashley Marino at Madison Seminary. This
Cool.
is a charity event for
Nice.
Dan Class. His daughter was
Yes.
recently diagnosed with bone cancer.
Shaley, yes.
If you want to, even if you can't make it, it helps to buy a ticket because all of that money is going right back to Dan.
Yep.
And you can find that ticket information on my website at theurbaninvestigator.com. It'll take you to the events page for Eventbrite, and you can purchase your tickets there. This isn't one of those things where it's just a normal public overnight, but the but the proceeds for it go to a good cause. Um, and just like I tell everybody else at all my events, we just finished up an event this past weekend at Rhodes Hotel. Um, if you go to or I same thing I tell everybody. If you go to one of my events, if you know me or if you're there for me, that's great. If you're not, I want everyone to have fun. So whether you film for YouTube or you ghost hunt for fun or you're a creator or you're a TikToker or whatever, it's fair game for everything. And I want
That's
everybody to
awesome.
have fun and do whatever it is that they want to do within the confines of the rules. But
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um
It's the
but
best way to
yeah,
do it.
August 2nd, I think is going to be a really fun event. We're going to have some people out there like Jeff Fent, Ashley
Awesome.
Marino, Candy Howard,
Oh, wow, okay.
working on like 2 or 3 other people just to kind of get tickets sold, but you'll have to check out my page in order to figure out who those people are going to be.
Got it. Awesome. Now, do you have any like personal what is it, research trips coming up for your urbexing, or
I
is that
do.
just kind of
I have 2 this weekend. Two of them I
fun?
can tell you about, but the other 2 are under the radar until I post. But
Gotcha.
this Friday we will be at the West Virginia Penitentiary. For it's
Very
just
nice.
a whole bunch of friends that are just and then Saturday we are going to Bobby Mackey's. I have a love
Wow.
hate relationship with it because I don't believe Bobby Mackey's is haunted. I think it's haunted with rats and mold. But that is
Tend to
to be
agree, and I've never been
determined.
there.
That's to be determined. I've only been once, and as we know, locations have dead nights, and that could have been what happened to
Sure.
me the first time.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, but I genuinely don't think that Bobby Mackey's is haunted. No offense to anyone who
My
has
biggest
got
worry about that place is
evidence,
it's just
but
gonna fall into the river, but that's just me.
well, they're demoing it, so it's
Yeah.
not going to fall. It's not if it doesn't fall in between now and demolition. It's
Gotcha.
but
Good point.
I think that they're doing the right thing by demoing because
Yeah.
no offense to anybody, but it hasn't exactly been taken care of.
No, no, no. You could tell by the pictures, just the outside. I mean,
Yeah,
it's I think it's an accurate reflection of what's happening and the infrastructure of the whole thing. So
the dance
it's
floor is like this.
oof. Yeah.
It's wild.
No. No, thank you.
Somebody said something about riding the bull, and I was like, no.
Have you been to Moundsville before? Or I'm
I
sorry, West
have
Virginia?
several times.
I love that place.
Moundsville's amazing. I know a
Yes.
pioneering woman in Brazil, Sonia, instrumental trans communication, and her work gets standing ovations often. She'll be remembered as a pioneer one day. Mark my words, she's great for shows like this. If it fits blessings, dope.
Cool. I'll have to check it out, man. Thank you.
Um, Bobby Mackey's is one of my favorite stops when I'm in Kentucky. I hear you, Paul. It's just, it's probably what it is I had a dead night, but
Yeah.
I'm also very quick to judge. No offense to anybody at all.
Right.
I'm very quick to judge on locations. And Bobby Mackey's kind of hurts my heart because it is a historic location,
Hmm.
regardless of what kind of location it is, and it just hasn't been loved the way it needed to be.
Right. I've been to Waverly twice,
Hmm.
and both times it's been, I'll just say, quiet.
Yeah.
Um, but I still feel like, honestly, I think I was with a different group at the time, and the group's whole point was to debunk everything, and that wasn't quite the journey that I thought I was being set out on when I
Hmm.
started this whole thing. So just it wasn't fun, and you as being part of the group, you have to second guess everything. We couldn't
Well, sure.
we couldn't experiment, with certain pieces of equipment if the leader didn't agree with it, or he didn't approve
Oh,
of
it's
it.
one of those.
Yeah, very wanted everything as scientific based as possible,
Gotcha.
which
I
is
I don't
great to get background and like to work with those people. But if it's not your journey,
I
it's not
I
your
don't have
territory.
a problem with scientific method at all, but
Mm. Neither do I.
there's a point in time where there's probably going to be some stuff you can't debunk.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um,
And that's the thing. We would spend hours of our paid time in this place trying to debunk one little thing that happened, like in a span of a minute. And we'd be there two,
oh my
3 more hours
god,
trying to figure out why that wasn't
why a piece of
paranormal.
plaster fell from the ceiling? Give me a break.
Yeah, yeah, it was ridiculous.
I
But
need to get. Hi, Kristen. Yeah, no, Waverly is a different breed and a different kind of animal. It's not really a location. Yeah, you can debunk everything, but there's so much that goes on
yeah,
that you just. What I tell everybody is go into a room that has a window and just sit.
yeah,
No lights, just chill out for an hour, maybe 2 hours,
hmm
and just listen. Your eyes are going to adjust your eyes are going to adjust to everything. What's up, Sean? Um,
Bowman.
but your eyes are going to adjust to the light and everything else, and it's going
Right.
to she'll show herself when she wants to.
And that's the thing. I'm thinking if I ever go back, just because I know what I know now, and I understand my journey, and I've definitely. I'm not going to call myself a psychic medium or anything like that, but my
Sure.
sensitivities have definitely been trained. Um, I definitely have a lot more experience, and I think I have a great group of people that are all just kind of like a well balanced group of believers and skeptics,
Sure.
in the same person. I just think being in that kind of a group may just make the experience better,
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
more interesting. But just I just it's a different. I would love to go back there again and
That's
just
such a
see what
good
would
place.
happen. Yeah.
Such an awesome location.
Yep. And I've been to Trans Allegheny.
Mhm.
That was a game changer for me. Um,
It was a cool place. We were talking about that before you hit live, but it she showed herself the first time pretty heavy, and then the second time not so much. But
yeah.
um, I did have an experience on the fourth floor, and I think it's the men's ward where it's just bad bad feeling down that
Hmm.
hallway or whatever, and it was right at sundown, so you could still see it, but you kind of couldn't. You're just
Yeah.
getting light from the window, or ambient light from the windows,
Yeah.
and thought I saw somebody walking towards me, thought I heard somebody walking towards me, and I mean, if you've been there, you know that those floors are creaky and
Oh yeah. Yeah.
everything else up there, but it's a different animal too.
Yeah. I mean, that is probably one of the most just like, if you believe in energy just being there,
Mhm.
that kind of haunt, that's the most experience I've ever had. That kind of
At
haunt that
at
just,
Tala?
yeah, just constantly, like, it was just still in operation.
Yeah,
You just sit. I mean, I know we were just sitting there and listening.
yeah,
We had our mag lights out and stuff. We weren't even asking questions.
yeah,
And you'd hear something like footsteps down the hall. And
yeah.
as they got closer, a mag light would turn on or a REM pod would go off, and it's just like
Sure.
making its way down. It's just
That's cool.
crazy. Yeah,
Some of these
love
places
it.
really show out.
Yep. So, dude, I feel like we have so much more to talk about, but
I
I know
don't.
you're tired.
We can keep going if you want to. I don't care. I ain't got
We'll
nowhere to
have you
be.
back on another time, and we'll make sure Denise and Heisenberg, because I know they have questions for you.
Yeah,
That's what we got
I'm
here.
kind of bummed that they weren't here. Ran off
We'll get them
screen.
back on. We'll have
Screens
you
can't be
back
turned
on for
back.
sure.
Yeah, can't wait for it. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yep. Cool. So I will. I don't know. I guess the first time. I mean, I'm not gonna probably see you till Madison, MadCon.
I'm
So
sure we'll
definitely have
run it.
to.
We always run into each other. I'm sure
That's
it'll
true.
probably be
That's
before then.
true. That's true. But dude, so good having you on. Thanks, Vince.
It was a
Thank you,
blast.
everybody. Yep. Thank you, everybody, for chiming in. Who was it? Mr. Lee. I will definitely check into that that lady you were talking about there. And thank you for the info, guys. Follow Vince Kellien. Check out urbaninvestigator.com for all his new things and his big announcement coming up at the end of July. Super excited for him. Dude, you do amazing work. Thank you for being
Thank
on.
you.
And since Denise isn't here, we'll go out with what she usually says, and that's don't be an asshole. Guys, just don't be an asshole. All right. We love you guys. Have a good weekend. We'll spook you later,
Bye.
crypto heads. Bye bye.